जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातिरावनचारि यमुनातिरवनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातिरावनचारि यमुनातिरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गौ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। मायापुर धाम की जय। नवदीप धाम की जय। गंगा मई की जय। यमुना मई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas Swaminiti Namane. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। रीडिंग फ्रॉम भगवद गीता श्रीमद् भागवतम canto 2 chapter 4 titled The Process of Creation, text 9. Okay, please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yatha gunan tu prakritehe yugapat kramashah api va bibharti bhurishah tu ekah kurvan karmani janmabhihi yata gunamstu prakrite yatha gunamstu prakrite yugapat kramashopi va yugapat kramashopi va bibharti bhurishastu bibharti bhurishtwekha bibharti bhurishtwekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi kurvan karmani janmabhihi yatha gunamstu prakrite yugapat kramashopi va bibharti bhurishtwekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi yatha gunamstu prakrite yugapat kramashopi va bibharti bhurishtwekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi. Please repeat. Yatha gunamstu prakrite yogapat kramashopi va bibharti bhurishtwekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi yatha gunamstu prakrite yugapat kramashopi va bibharti bhurishtwekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi. Matajis. Yatha gunamstu prakrite yugapat kramashopi va bibharti bhurishtwekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi yatha gunamstu prakrite yugapat kramashopi va bibharti bhurishtwekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi. Word to word translation. Yatha, as they are. Gunan, the modes of. Tu, but. Prakritehe, of the material energy. Yugapat, simultaneously. Kramashah, gradually. Api, also. Va, either. Bibharti, maintains. Bhurishah, many forms. Tu, but. Ekaha, the Supreme One. Kurvan, acting. Karmani, activities. Janmabhihi, by incarnations. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, whether He alone acts with the modes of material nature or simultaneously expands in many forms or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. There's no purport for this verse, so I will read the Sanskrit and translation purport of the next verse. Text 11. Vichiksitam etan me bravitu bhagavan yatha shabdhe brahmani nishnatha parasmimscha bhavan khalu. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries, because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures and self-realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord, and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Govinda, the personality of Godhead, although one without a second, is infallibly expanded by innumerable forms, not different from one another. And although he is the original person, he is still ever young with permanent youthful energy. He is very difficult to know simply by learning the transcendental science of the Vedas, but he is very easily realized by his pure devotees. The expansions of different forms of the Lord, from Krishna to Baladev to Shankarshan, from Shankarshan to Vasudev, from Vasudev to Aniruddha, from Aniruddha to Pradyumna, and then again to the second Shankarshana, and from him to the Narayana Purusha avatars, and innumerable other forms, which are compared to the constant flowing of the uncountable waves of the river, are all one and the same. They are like lamps of equal power which kindle from one lamp to another. That is the transcendental potency of the Lord. The Vedas say that he is so complete that even though the whole complete identity emanates from him, he still remains the same complete whole. Purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vashishyate. As such, there is no validity in a material conception of the Lord produced by the mental speculator. Thus, he remains always a mystery for the mundane scholar, even if he is vastly learned in the Vedic literatures. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktau. Therefore, the Lord is beyond the limit of the conception for mundane learned scholars, philosophers, or scientists. He is easily understandable for the pure devotee, because the Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita 18.55 that after surpassing the stage of knowledge, when one is able to be engaged in devotional service of the Lord, then only can one know the true nature of the Lord. One cannot have any clear conception of the Lord or his holy name, form, attributes, pastimes, etc., unless one is engaged in the transcendental loving service. The statement of the Bhagavad Gita that one must first of all surrender unto the Lord, being freed from all other engagements, means that one must become a pure, unconditional devotee of the Lord. Only then one can know him by the strength of devotional service. Maharaj Parikshit admitted in the previous verse that the Lord is inconceivable even for the greatest learned scholars. Why should he then again request Shukadev Goswami to clarify his insufficient knowledge about the Lord? The reason is clear. Not only was Shukadev Goswami vastly learned in the Vedic literatures, but he was also a great self-realized soul and a powerful devotee of the Lord. A powerful devotee of the Lord is, by the grace of the Lord, more than the Lord himself. The personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra, attempted to bridge the Indian Ocean to reach the island of Lanka. But Sri Hanumanji, the unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, could cross the ocean simply by jumping over it. The Lord is so merciful upon his pure devotee that he presents his beloved devotee as more powerful than himself. The Lord expressed himself to be unable to save Durvasa Muni, although the Muni was so powerful that he could reach the Lord directly under material conditions. But Durvasa Muni was saved by Maharaj Ambarish, a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, not only is the devotee of the Lord more powerful than the Lord, but also worship of the devotee is considered more effective than the direct worship of the Lord. Mad bhaktya puja bhyadikha. The conclusion is therefore that a serious devotee must first approach a spiritual master who is not only well versed in the Vedic literatures, but is also a great devotee with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. Without the help of such a devotee, spiritual master, one cannot make progress in the transcendental science of the Lord. And a bona fide spiritual master like Shukadeva Goswami does not speak about the Lord only in the matter of his internal potencies, but also explains how he associates with the external potencies. The Lord's pastimes in the internal potencies are displayed in his activities in Vrindavan, but the works of his external potency are directed by his features of Karnanavashai Vishnu, Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and Kshirodakashai Vishnu. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti offers his good counsel to the interested Vaishnavas when he says that they should not only be interested in hearing only about the Lord's activities in Vrindavan, like the Rasa Leela, but must be keenly interested in his pastimes, in his features of the Purushavataras in connection with Srishti Tattva, creational functions, following the examples of Maharaj Parikshit, the ideal disciple, and Shukadeva Goswami, the ideal spiritual master. Om Agyanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yata gunamstu prakriter jugapat kramashopi va bibharti puhurishastvaeka kurvan karmani janmabhi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature or simultaneously expands in many forms or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. Vichikshitam etan me bravitum bhagavan yatha shabde brahmani nishnata parasmimscha bhavan kalu. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries, because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures and self-realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. So, with this, Parikshit Maharaj will cease speaking, and then Shukadeva Goswami will begin replying from text 12, and thus begins the description of the process of creation in the universal manifestation of this Brahmanda, this particular universe, and not even this universe, all the universes actually. So here, before concluding his questions, Parikshit Maharaj states that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, and whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature or simultaneously expands in many forms or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. Prabhupada explains this in the first paragraph of the purport to the next verse. He says that Prabhupada quotes from the Brahma Samhita. So the verse specifically in this regard is Brahma Samhita verse, Deeparchireva hi dashantaram ambupetya. Deeparchireva hi dashantaram ambupetya. Vivarta hetu samana dharma. I forgot one word. Yastagrehe vaisha Vishnu taya vibhati govindamadi purusham tamahan bhajami. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands into many forms, just as a lamp can kindle several other lamps of the same potency. Just like one candle is lit with another candle, and then all the candles have the same potency. So similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although He is one, although it is the same personality, He expands Himself into many forms. So why does He expand? Why does He expand? The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands to conduct His pastimes. But why to expand to conduct His pastimes? Because actually This entire universe, or everything that exists, reality in itself, is basically just Krishna. Krishna is the only reality. Now, that reality, Krishna manifests in the form of himself and his different energies. So, to interact with his different energies in different forms, Krishna takes different incarnations. So he expands himself, and in this way he expands his bliss. So Krishna has many energies, right? There's multiple energies. He has, are primarily divided into three. He has the internal potency, which is Yogamaya, the internal potency, and then he has the marginal potency, which is all the living entities, all the souls, both conditioned and liberated. Both those in Vaikuntha and those in the material world, they form in the marginal potency. And then you have the external potency, which is Jada Shakti, Mahamaya, this material universe consisting of, what does the material universe consist of? Yes. So the material universe, Krishna defines it into two, two ways that I can think of in the Bhagavad Gita. So he breaks it into the 5 elements, 5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements, right? So he says, Bhumi Rapo Nala Vayu Kammano Buddhi Recha Ahankara Iti Ame Bhinna Prakriti Rashtadha. So he says this material world Prakriti consists of these 8 elements. Okay. Then what's the other way in which the material universe is generally described? I'm wondering if there's any other description, but yeah. What's the other way in which material universe is described? In what other way? Modes of nature. 3 modes of material nature. Krishna says, this material energy consisting of the 3 modes, Devi Esha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mamayeva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So Krishna says, this material energy consisting of the 3 modes of material nature is very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders unto me can easily overcome it. So in this way, Krishna defines the material energy. So this is material energy. And the condition Tatastha Shakti, the living entities are categorized into 2. That is eternally liberated and eternally conditioned. So you have the Nitya Baddha and the Nitya Mukta. So you have these 2 categories. You have these 2 categories of living entities. And then you have the internal energy. The internal energy, how is that classified? Primarily, there's many classifications of the internal energy, but they're primarily classified into, any idea? Huh? No, that's not how the internal energy is classified. It's classified into 3. Samvit, Sandhini, and Hladini. So primarily these 3, there are many sub-categorizations. So Samvit, Sandhini, and Hladini Shaktis. Anyways, to interact with these different energies, the Supreme Personality of Godhead takes many forms. So original Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada states here, that he states in the purport that I just read it. So it's written in the first line actually. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, although one without a second, is infallibly expanded by innumerable forms, non-different from one another, and although he is the original person, he is still ever young with permanent youthful energy. So this ever young with permanent youthful energy refers to whom? Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his Kaishora form, youthful, always existing at the age of 16 years. So this is his eternal form that is found in Goloka Vrindavan. And Krishna is in that eternal youthful form, as Prabhupada describes it very nicely. Prabhupada uses, he says, ever young with permanent youthful energy. Our youthful energy, it dies away. It doesn't last very long. You have the... anyways, it's funny. Um, in economic terms, they call it the roaring 20s when it was before the Great Depression hit. But it's kind of like that. In your personal life also, you're roaring as you hit like 20, it's like 18, 19, 20. You're just like you're just out of high school. You're just ready to you know, enjoy the world and explore and achieve things or whatever. Anyways, some people do. A lot of people just come out molded out, not knowing what the hell they're going to do in life. But anyways, a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I'm going to make it in life, and I'm going to make it up there, and but then after when you hit the late 20s, things start slowing down a bit. It's not as exciting anymore. Things start slowing down. You're thinking, I got to settle down and this and that, and for most people, you just waste all your life in the first, like, all the youthful energy is completely wasted, and then you're just like exhausted. But Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is not like that. He's Nava Yauvanam. Krishna is described as Nava Yauvanam, always youthful, and therefore he has that youthful energy, permanent youthful energy. And and similarly, the energies with which Krishna interacts with that youthful energy, they are also youthful. They are also, like, you see all the residents of Vrindavan, all the associates of Krishna, all the gopas and the gopis. They are also as enthusiastic to serve Krishna. And in the spiritual world, there is this youthful energy. There is always this youth, which for us is actually very difficult to conceive, because we're so used in the material world to just getting worn down. It's like this. What is one consistent thing that you find in the material world? You get tired. And you just get tired, because this material energy is like that. This material energy, it's not because it's not spiritual. Spiritual energy is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, meaning it's enthusiastic, it's youthful, and it's full of life. Matter is dead. Matter doesn't have life. How does matter come about? Prabhupada says matter comes from life, right? Life is not generated from matter. These mundane scientists, foolish people, they think that life comes from matter. But matter by nature is dead. And matter by nature does not have any life. It cannot give life. Life generates life, and life generates matter too. Life generates life because we are spiritual living beings. We are eternal, and therefore, what comes, that when that eternal feature is continued in the material world, it gives rise to other living entities, meaning in the form of procreation. But the actual eternal condition of the spirit soul is to serve the eternal supreme, Krishna, and interact with him. And Krishna, being the eternal supreme, gives rise to both that which is eternal and that which is eternal but is temporarily manifested. So material energy is also eternal, right? Because everything that comes from Krishna is eternal. But the difference between the spiritual and material is the spiritual has this everlasting youthful energy, whereby it always exists, it's always vibrant, it's always full of life, and it's full of knowledge and bliss, and it always gives pleasure to Krishna. This material energy is temporarily manifested. It's eternal, but that eternality is somewhat covered. And the covering happens by the form of it being created and destroyed. And then sometime it remains silent, then it's created again, there's a little bit of vibrancy, then destroyed again. So this is the nature of how this material world works. So for Krishna to interact with these different energies, he takes different forms. That's what we're trying to speak of. So in the spiritual world, the first expansion that Krishna expands into, right, is Balaram. Balaram is Krishna's first expansion. No? And Krishna also has other expansions in Vrindavan, such as him expanding himself in the Rasa Leela. Same personality, same Krishna, but he's expanded himself in the Rasa Leela. And he does a similar thing in Dwaraka, where he has 16,000 queens, and he expands himself differently. But it's the same Krishna. None. Same Krishna, same mood, same interaction, but he expands himself in this way. Okay. Then from Balaram comes the incarnations that Srila Prabhupada is referring to in this purport. Actually, Prabhupada says right here, the expansions of the different forms of the Lord as from Krishna to Baladev. So the first expansion is Baladev, Balaram. Then after that comes Shankarshan. From Shankarshan you have Vasudev, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. So this forms the first Chaturvyuha. This first Chaturvyuha expansions of Krishna are the first expansions that have that display the four-handed forms. They are found in the realm of just after Dwaraka, right? They are found in that realm just after Dwaraka. So in the spiritual world, you have Goloka Vrindavan. It's not exactly stacked upon one another. This is the beauty. Anyways, this is a whole class. For those who are interested, you can listen to the Goloka Chart seminar by His Grace Gokul Chandra Prabhu, who speaks about all of this. He speaks about these. So actually, in the spiritual world, they're all simultaneously existing. It's not exactly one above the other, but still, actually, in one sense, it is one above the other, because Goloka Vrindavan is, in the Brahma Samhita, is stated, what is that? Devi Mahesha Haridamasu Teshu Teshu. So where is Goloka Vrindavan? It is Devi. Devi Dham is this material world. Devi Dham, the abode of Durga, material world. Devi, Mahesha. Mahesha refers to Shiva. Shiva's abode is between the material and the spiritual worlds. Devi, Mahesha, Haridama. Haridama refers to Vaikuntha, where all the different expansions of Narayana are found. Devi, Mahesha, Haridama, Suteshu Teshu. Found above that. So, Suteshu Teshu basically refers to, after Haridam you have Ayodhya Dham. Further up from Ayodhya Dham you have Dwaraka, Mathura and Goloka Vrindavan. So the Chaturvyuha forms, the first Chaturvyuha is found above Ayodhya Dham just in the realm of Dwaraka. So basically this Chaturvyuha form is found at the entrance to the pastimes of Krishna himself. So this Chaturvyuha is over there. And then from that Chaturvyuha, from that Shankarshan in the first Chaturvyuha, the next Shankarshan expands into the realm of Vaikuntha. And from that Shankarshan comes all the Narayana forms. What primarily Keshava, Narayana, Madhava, Govinda, Vishnu. Don't know this? How you're putting tilak? Keshava, Narayana, Madhava, Govinda, Vishnu, Madhusudana, Trivikrama, Vamana, Sridhara, Rishikesha, Padmanabha, Damodara. So, Vasudeva. So, these are the expansions that are found. This is why we put tilak. Right? When we put tilak, we are praying to these different forms of Narayana, Vishnu, to protect us. If you read Krishna book, you will find that after Putana was killed, right? Anybody has Krishna book? Somebody bring? Maybe I didn't think I'm going to speak of that, but anyways. Maybe you could pull it up. It's difficult to find in the, in a phone, but so in the chapter Putana, there you will see Yashoda Devi, she'll pray for Krishna to be protected. Yeah, that's better. Okay, let's see. Putana. Okay. Yep. Krishna's mercy. I found it. So here it says, after the purificatory process, the gopis headed by Mother Yashoda and Rohini chanted the names of Vishnu to give Krishna full protection from all evil influences. They washed their hands and feet, sipped water 3 times, Achaman. So just search. So no, it's not second paragraph. This is a lot. It's fine. It's quite in. It's actually, yeah, it's kind of in the middle. Just type purificatory process, gopis headed by, like that. So they washed their hands and feet and sipped water 3 times. Sipped water 3 times, Achaman. And before chanting mantra, they chanted as follows: My dear Krishna, may Aja, the unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, protect your legs. May the Lord who is known as Maniman protect your knees. May the Lord who is known as Yajna protect your thighs. May Lord Achyuta protect your arms. May Lord Hayagriva protect your abdomen. May Lord Keshava protect your heart. May Lord Vishnu protect your arms. May Lord Urukrama protect your face. May Lord Ishvara protect your head. May Lord Chakradhara protect your front. May Lord Gadadhara protect your back. May Lord Madhusudana, who carries a bow in his hand, protect your right side. May Lord Vishnu, who carries a conch shell, protect your left side. May the personality of Godhead Upendra protect you from above. May Lord Tarksha protect you on the ground. May Lord Haladhara protect you from all sides. May the personality of Godhead known as Rishikesh protect all your senses. May Lord Narayana protect your life air. May the Lord of Shweta Dvipa, Narayana, protect your heart. May Lord Yogeshwara protect your mind. May Lord Prishni Garbha protect your intelligence. And may the Supreme Personality of Godhead protect your soul. While you are playing, may Lord Govinda protect you from all sides. When you are sleeping, may Lord Madhava protect you from all danger. When you are walking, may the Lord of Vaikunta protect you from falling down. When you are sitting, may the Lord of Vaikunta give you all protection. And while you are eating, may the Lord, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, give you all protection. Thus, Mother Yashoda chanted different names of Vishnu to protect the child Krishna's different bodily parts. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced that she should protect her child from all kinds of evil spirits and ghosts. Anyways, there's a whole list of ghosts and anyways, we're kind of getting, we can talk more about that. But the point is, the different incarnations of Vishnu protect us, and therefore wearing tilak and chanting the mantras while wearing tilak is something important to do. It's not some ritual. When we are chanting these different names and wearing tilak on the respective parts of our body, we can pray to those holy names to protect us respectively, because this body is actually a temple of Lord Vishnu, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Paramatma resides within our heart. He resides within this. And therefore, we, just like we are right now in this temple, and we are here, Krishna is here. Krishna is on the altar. He is the actual Lord and Master of this temple. And we are also allowed to stay here. Why are we allowed to stay here? Because we are allowed to stay here if we have the mentality to serve Krishna. Without that mentality, we will not be allowed to stay here. We should not stay here. It becomes sinful. And it becomes one of the worst offenses that one can commit. Because one thinks that this temple is meant for my enjoyment. Let me enjoy. Let me just, let me utilize the temple to collect money and donations and enjoy a nice comfortable life. So, when we put tilak on our different parts of our body, we should meditate, pray to Krishna that we are such rascals, we are thinking this body is meant for my enjoyment. Just like some rascal is thinking that the temple is meant for their enjoyment. So we should think, Krishna, let me utilize this body, protect this body, let me utilize it. It's like we want protection for this temple. We don't want anything. We want to be able to pay our bills. We don't want the temple to be attacked by vandals. We don't want the temple to be robbed or anything like that. We don't want some lightning to strike the temple or something like this. We want the temple to be protected. Why? Because we want to be able to serve Krishna. Similarly, the body also has to be protected so that we can serve Krishna. This is meditation. When we chant the different names of Lord Vishnu. So, these different incarnations of Lord Vishnu have the same transcendental potency, even though they are one personality. So, this is difficult for a person to understand. that the mundane scholars, they are not able to understand this, because they cannot. Why don't mundane scholars understand how Krishna expands into these different forms? They could read about it, but why is it said that it remains always a mystery? Why is the Lord beyond the limit of conception for the mundane learned scholars, philosophers, and scientists, but he's easily understandable for a pure devotee? Why is that so? Huh? Because of devotional service. And how can we sum up devotional service? Very simply. In what way can we sum up devotional service? If you have to give one definition to devotional service, what would you give? Huh? So to do everything that is needed to please Krishna, and to avoid everything that is displeasing to Krishna. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. Or Atmendriya priti vancha tare bale kam, Krishnendriya priti icha dhare prema nam. So the desire to gratify one's own senses is called lust. The desire to satisfy Krishna's senses is called prema, is called love. So when one comes to the platform of devotional service, it means one has understood that Krishna is the enjoyer. I am not the enjoyer. Krishna is the enjoyer. I am the enjoyed. I am meant to give enjoyment to Krishna. The mundane scholars, scientists, philosophers, they have not surrendered to this point. They still think themselves as the enjoyers. And they view everything on that basis. They view the entire universe, all their philosophies, their theories, their concepts, the way of life. It's all based on the misconception that we are the enjoyers, that the conditioned soul is the enjoyer. Therefore, their life is a mess. And therefore, they will never achieve liberation. But a devotee has surrendered to the fact that Krishna is the enjoyer. When a devotee surrenders to this proper understanding that Krishna is the enjoyer, then automatically he can understand why Krishna expands. And he becomes very eager to hear about these expansions, because he likes to hear how Krishna is enjoying. Just like we are reading this purport from Krishna book, where Yashoda Devi is protecting different. It's nectar. It's beautiful. It's very nice. You have child baby Krishna and he's being protected. But Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why does he need protection? No, his devotees want to give Vatsalya Bhav. Yashoda Devi wants to, as a mother, she wants to do everything possible to protect Krishna. And one of the ways in which she protects is by praying for him. But who is she going to pray to? Here, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is she going to pray to? Narayana has to be there to pray. Krishna, although he is the source of all the Narayana incarnations, but still, in order to facilitate, in order to create for Mother Yashoda, for Nanda Maharaj, for them in their house, so that they can pray. So Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj had Shalagram in his house. He was worshipping Vishnu Shalagram, worshipping a form of Narayana. They were devotees of Narayana. But what do they pray to Narayana? They would pray, protect Krishna. Now this is very inconceivable. Well, mundane scholars think this is ridiculous. What the hell? This doesn't make any sense. Like, it's all kind of like, it's very confusing. But it's not, because they don't understand the inconceivable nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his internal potency and just by his Ichha Shakti, by his desire, he forgets that he is Supreme Personality. He is the source of all the Narayana incarnations. No, he's actually afraid. He's actually afraid of Yashoda. Why will he be afraid? He, for whom death is, he is fear for fear personified. He is death for death personified. Why will he fear Mother Yashoda? Who's after all some cowherd woman. Okay, the queen of all the cowherd people of Vrindavan. But anyways, what is Vrindavan? Some insignificant village. It's not Hastinapura. It's not Mathura. It's not none of these big cities. It's just some, and in that there is one Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi who are king and queen of some cowherd people, and they have some cows and they have some wealth. Why should Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of all the Vaikuntha planets, all Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Indra, Chandra, Vayu, they are all following all the lotus feet, and they have to stand at the milk ocean and chant the Purusha Sukta prayers and pray, oh, please appear. They don't have the capacity to, they cannot just go and seek Vishnu like that. Such a personality is enacting this pastime of where he is afraid of Mother Yashoda. How to understand this? Inconceivable nature. This inconceivable nature can only be understood by one who surrenders. What does he surrender to? He surrenders to Krishna. I am your eternal servant. I am simply meant for your pleasure. That the devotee, for the devotee, everything that is inconceivable suddenly becomes within the realm of his appreciation and understanding. Although even then you can never completely understand Krishna, because Krishna is unlimited. Krishna is Krishna. I mean, he's the source of everything. But still, by the love of the pure devotee, Krishna makes himself available to that devotee. He makes himself within the reach and grasp of that pure devotee. He brings himself, he gives himself out of his being endeared by the love of the pure devotee. Because Krishna is the enjoyer, and we are meant to give enjoyment to Krishna, which means we have the capacity to be able to love Krishna, to reciprocate with him. We have been created for the purpose of reciprocation, for reciprocating Krishna's love. Therefore, the moment we become eager to do so, although Krishna is supreme, although he is not obliged to do so, when we move, he generally will do so. But we have been such rascals. We haven't been worshipping him for so long. We have forgotten him for so long. We haven't been interacting with him for so long. Just like, you've had a good friend, you've interacted with them, you're very close and this and that. And then they go somewhere, or they change their lives. And for years you don't hear about them. For years. Or even something even more close, a father and a son, or a mother and her child, or, and for years they just neglected. I mean, straight up neglected. They could have called, they could have interacted, they could have been in touch with each other, but they're not. So sometimes, it may feel like a little artificial to establish that relationship in the beginning. It may feel like that. Now, Krishna is not that. But at the same time, we have become so distant from Krishna that we don't even know anything about him. I mean, although we have been created to serve him, we have no understanding how to serve him. And this is where one has to approach a pure devotee. This is the second part of this purport. That Prabhupada is stating here, Maharaj Parikshit admitted in the previous verse that the Lord is inconceivable even for the greatest learned scholars. You cannot conceive him. How can you understand his passage? He's expanding so much like this, and why is he doing this? Like you see, even when you read in the 8th canto, and I first read it, I was like, wow. You look at the churning of the milk ocean, there are 3 incarnations at the same time. Right? They're present right there. And then there's incarnations that come in that pastime. There's many incarnations that come in that pastime. What is the incarnation? So first, Vishnu is coming. He is part of the demigods, and he's also going to churn the milk ocean. Right? He's leading. So he's there. Vishnu is there. Okay. Then what happens? Now, they need to churn using the Mandara mountain. But the Mandara mountain, you place it in the milk ocean, it falls down. It sinks. So what to do? Keshava Dhrita Kurma Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare. So he appears as Kurma. He had some itch in his back. You have some itch in your back. You can't reach it. You'll ask some other person to itch your back, right? But Krishna has some other inconceivable way. He figures some pastime somehow or the other, it just happens at the time when, so Krishna gets this itch, and simultaneously he satisfies his itch in this inconceivable way, where some big mountain has to scratch his back, and the host of the demigods and demons are churning the ocean of milk. Like, only Krishna can come up with this kind of like fantastic idea. Like however high or crazy you are, you won't come up with this kind of a crazy idea. You just can't. Even the most craziest person cannot come with the most, because Krishna is the crazy of the craziest. He's the crazy. If there's somebody, so he excels everybody in everything. So you have him. And then on top of all that, the Mandara mountain is there, and he decides to go and sit on top of it also. You'll see if you read. He's sitting on top of it with, having several thousands of arms. And he's sitting over there in his incarnation. Then apart from that, he appears as Dhanvantari carrying the Amrita, the pot of nectar, which is then stolen by the demons. And then to steal back the part of Amrita from the demons, he takes as Mohini, takes his incarnation as Mohini. So in this form, just that one pastime, you see Krishna taking so many incarnations. I was thinking, wow, it's like he's doing so many things. And then Lakshmi Devi is this eternal consort, but she appears from the milk ocean, and then there is this pastime where she's coming and she garlands Vishnu, and it so appears like that, and he gets some weapons also from the milk ocean. So in this way, Krishna, although these are eternal features, still he enacts these pastimes as if they just appeared. As if they just appeared, and he didn't have them. So these are all inconceivable pastimes, and when people are mundane and they have no conception of devotional service, they look at all these things, oh, it's all myth and doesn't make any sense, and what is the hell is this? Some big milk ocean and big mountain, some turtle wants to get its back scratched, and so demons and demigods, and then the ocean, poison is coming out, and somebody is swallowing that poison, holding it in his throat. What sort of crazy? And this is it seems like completely wild, right? But these are inconceivable pastimes. But actually, they're not wild. They're pretty understandable. I mean, for a devotee, that we read these pastimes, we derive great pleasure from them. We can talk about these pastimes again and again. I don't like to talk about these different movies that I watched and this and that. I don't like it. First time you watch it's okay. Maybe second time you watch it's okay. How many times do you want to hear the stupid Titanic story? It's like, they're sick and tired of it. Even the song, which was like, oh, it's so much. It's like, people used to cry and hug their girlfriend and boyfriend and weep and feel like they, and so many people went and reenacted that thing, like as if they felt that they were the whatever, Leonardo DiCaprio and etc., etc. So, but it's not fun. There's no pleasure in this. It feels tired. It becomes boring. It becomes stale. But Srimad Bhagavatam is not like that. Krishna book is not like that. You can read Krishna book. Actually, we should read Krishna book. We should become well versed in the pastimes of Krishna, because that is what we are supposed to meditate. So we're supposed to meditate upon, right? I mean, meditation on Krishna is not such an easy thing. To get Krishna Krishna will give everything, but he won't give devotional service so easily. He won't give devotional service so easily, because if he gives devotional, he has to give himself. So he won't give. He won't give it so easily. So, I mean, we were Parameshwar Prabhu was sitting and having a brahmachari class with us, and at that point of time, he was explaining that he was saying about a devotee who was, I think 2 devotees, I think he was saying, and they were driving a car, and the car got stuck on the rail track. And one devotee, they got stuck in the rail track, in the rail, and it didn't start. And the train's coming. And the devotee thought, okay, it looks like this is it. This is the time. And he's like, okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And of course, what happens is, the train hits the car, and it flips over. He survived. But he said that although he's chanting Krishna's names, he was thinking of his wife and kids. He couldn't not think of his wife and kids. He said, I'm chanting Krishna's name, but death is in front of you. Chant Krishna's names. And you're chanting Krishna's names, but still to remember Krishna at the time of death, this is not so easy. It's not so easy. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj is setting the example of taking shelter of a pure devotee like Shukadeva Goswami. This is a very important principle of devotional service that Prabhupada is saying. The reason is clear. Not only was Shukadeva Goswami vastly learned in the Vedic literature, but was also a great self-realized soul and a powerful devotee of the Lord. A powerful devotee of the Lord by the grace of the Lord is more than the Lord himself. The personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra, attempted to bridge the Indian Ocean to reach the island of Lanka, but Hanumanji, the unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, could cross the ocean simply by jumping it. So, the point is, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, a pure devotee is greater than the Supreme Lord himself in terms of his ability, certain of his abilities, because Krishna enacts his pastimes like that. But more than that, for us conditioned living entities, those pure devotees are more merciful than Krishna himself. This is very, very important point to understand. That the Acharya actually is the mercy incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guru, therefore we worship Guru as Sakshad Hari, because he is imbued with that potency of Krishna himself. He is very dear to Krishna, therefore he should be worshipped like Krishna, although he is not Krishna himself, but he should worship like Krishna. And the pure devotee is more merciful than Krishna himself, because the pure devotee is eager to bring other souls to serve Krishna, because he understands and he's pitying all the conditioned living entities. But apart from that, the pure devotee is also interested, especially the acharyas coming in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are imbued with the same spirit of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the mood of Srimati Radharani, who wanted to gather as many conditioned souls as possible. As many souls. She wants to engage everybody in Krishna's service. She has so much service for Krishna. And she wants to expand that service to Krishna. And she is so eager to expand that service that she comes down, that her mood descends in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to save the conditioned souls. There is so much service in Vrindavan. What are you all doing here, wasting your human form of life? Take up to the process. Bhajo Krishna, what is that? Bhajo Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shikha. Chant the holy name of Krishna. Learn about Krishna's instructions. And worship Krishna. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he descends. So the acharyas, the pure devotees, they come for this purpose. And therefore they are more merciful than Krishna himself. So therefore, here, the powerful devotee by the grace of the Lord is more than the Lord himself. And so, in order for us to be able to remember Krishna, we need the mercy of the Acharya. How do we get the mercy of the Acharya? We try to please the pure devotee. Prabhupada is saying here, therefore a serious devotee must first approach a spiritual master who is not only well versed in the Vedic literatures, but also a great devotee with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. Prabhupada also writes that, therefore, not only is the devotee of the Lord more powerful than the Lord, but worship of the devotee is considered more effective than direct worship of the Lord. So, and again, Parameshwar Prabhu was giving an example, he was saying, Prabhupada said, that if you engage in the Sankirtan movement throughout your life, Lord Chaitanya will personally come and take you at the end of your life. Personally, Lord Chaitanya will come and take you back home, back to God. And this whole incident, amazing incident that Parameshwar Prabhu, recollected of a particular devotee who had done Sankirtan his whole life. And he's on his deathbed. And, so, Lord, devotees say, right? You perform Sankirtan your whole life, and Lord Chaitanya will come and personally take. So devotees have actually assembled to see this. And they are there. They're waiting on his deathbed. They're seeing. And so devotees are chanting and this and that. And they're waiting to see, is Lord Chaitanya going to personally come and take this devotee back home, back to Godhead? And, again, I might be missing a few details here. And that devotee says on his deathbed, is like, please take me to, Govardhan. Take me on Govardhan Parikrama. They are not in Govardhan. I believe this incident happened in Mayapur. And I say, no, we can't go to Govardhan. It's somewhere else, But we can give you a Govardhan Shila. So the devotees bring Govardhan Shila and they place it on this devotee's chest. And so this devotee is having this Govardhan Shila, and then he's talking. And the devotee is asking, who are you talking to? He's like, I'm talking to Lord Chaitanya. And then he's speaking to Lord Chaitanya, and then saying, so what is Lord Chaitanya saying? Lord Chaitanya is saying, come, let's take this Govardhan Shila, let's go. You have to come with me, and you have to take this Govardhan Shila with you also. And then, sometime later, this devotee actually, just a few, within a few hours, I don't know exactly, but the devotee passes away. And then after his death, they're not able to find the Govardhan Shila. Devotees can't find the Govardhan Shila. Lord Chaitanya, through this incident, he proves that he personally comes and takes. This Sankirtan movement, this book distribution is so important. It's so important. And even though we may not be like, at least speaking for myself, every time I speak of book distribution, I think how I'm just like completely useless. But at least the hope is somehow or the other, we somehow remain connected to book distribution and serve the book distributor, serve the Sankirtan mission. Then maybe, Lord Chaitanya, maybe Srila Prabhupada will be pleased with us. Our spiritual master, our Guru Maharaj will be pleased with us. And Srila Prabhupada will be pleased with us. And then at the last time, because how are we going to remember Krishna? So many material attachments. This devotee, that train is coming, going to hit him. He's chanting Krishna's name. He's not thinking of Krishna. He's thinking of, wife and kids. It's really scary. And that I'm not going, actually that devotee, at least he's humble enough to admit that. And for me, I'm like thinking, what's the hope? But then stories like this give us hope that if we have to somehow please Srila Prabhupada, somehow please the Acharyas, please our Guru Maharaj, follow the instructions. And it's very important to find a spiritual master, therefore, who can fix us up in following Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, there's so many misconceptions going on in society today in the name of following Srila Prabhupada. And all these excuses are just excuses to avoid surrender. Just how to not surrender. How to not surrender to Srila Prabhupada. They'll give you different reasons. How to interpret different Srila Prabhupada. Oh, you don't need Guru. Srila Prabhupada is the only Guru. Or Srila Prabhupada was Guru of the past. That was 1970s. Now we have to change all the preaching strategy. We have to do this, do that, do this, and do this different, do that different. All in the name of Srila Prabhupada. See, Srila Prabhupada is Shakti-Avesh avatar. He specially came, Senapati Bhakta of Lord Chaitanya, who came to execute the mission of Lord Chaitanya. So Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, they are, even in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, they are special people. They set standards for years to come. Rupa Goswami, he sets the standard. How to follow devotional service. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the principal book on how to perform devotional service to Krishna. That Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is an extremely important book, Nectar of Devotion. So you will find, or we have to understand, that everything that Srila Prabhupada preached, we have to understand it to be in line with what Rupa Goswami said. It's not that Srila Prabhupada, even though he is a Shakti-Avesh avatar, he is a great Acharya, still he is subservient to Rupa Goswami. Prabhupada writes that Nectar of Instruction. In the preface, he says, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is personally supervising. This Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the personal supervision of Rupa Goswami. Under direct supervision or something like this. I think the word is used, direct supervision, not personal. Direct supervision of Rupa Goswami. And, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj has given a series of lectures on the Nectar of Instruction. Amazing that just the preface, just on the preface, and there's a class literally on just that first sentence. How is this Krishna conscious movement conducted under direct supervision of Rupa Goswami. So, similarly, all the disciples and gurus who are coming after Srila Prabhupada, they have to conduct the Krishna consciousness movement in line with Prabhupada's instructions. Then you are a guru. This is guru. This is how it's done. This is parampara. And it's very important to understand. And so here it said, one must first approach a spiritual master who is not only well versed in Vedic, but is also a great devotee of the Lord with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. One of the energies of the Lord is this Maya Shakti, illusory energy. A spiritual master is one who is able to guide his disciples because he understands how this material energy works, and he is able to guide the disciples in a manner that they can become free from the influence of this material energy. And he not only should be well versed in the scripture, not just theoretical knowledge, oh yeah, consider three more, the material nature, factual realization. How does this material energy work? How are the devotees becoming entrapped? What are the illusions that they are falling under into? How can they become inspired to serve Krishna more? This is Guru. And it's all in line with Shastra. No, so therefore, and then Prabhupada concludes the purport here, that from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's recommendation, that Vaishnava should not only be interested in hearing of the Lord pastimes in Vrindavan like Ras Leela, but should also be interested in the pastimes of the Purusha Avataras, meaning how this creation happens, how the what is Karnana Vashai Vishnu, here Prabhupada writes, Garbhodakashai Vishnu, Shirodakashai Vishnu, how these expansions are happening. These are all very important matters. Foolish devotees think that, oh, my attachment to Krishna will be diverted if I start reading about pastimes of Varaha, pastimes of Vamana, pastimes of Rama. Nonsense. We are more interested right now. Be realistic. Think what is real. You are not thinking about Krishna, Baba. We are thinking about Maya. We are thinking about wife. We are thinking about money. We are thinking about sensual pleasures. Nonsense. We should absorb ourselves in Krishna's pastimes in every single shape and form that we can. So, with that, I'll stop this class. Hare Krishna. We have 10 minutes for questions or comments. Okay. First Chandanacharya Prabhu, then we'll give Bhakta Isaac.
So I had a few questions, like, specifically talking about the Lord's activities and being absorbed in them. So like specifically the work that we do, at least when we're staying in the temple and being on the computer and things like that, it's like you often mention, like it's easy to get distracted with all these things on the internet. It's like, so how, it's kind of difficult even for myself. That's like probably the biggest struggle, is like not getting distracted, right? Because
the struggle.
Because you bring out something, you want to go on YouTube and find something for your specific service, but then this other thing comes up. It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. And then the mind makes up like justifications. Oh, this will be good for my preaching. I can explain these things. Because Karmis explains certain things in really nice ways in order to understand the same principle that's there in Shastra also. They create good argument. So sometimes it's like you get absorbed in that, just watching that, okay, they're like this, like this, like this. And so like how, it's like difficult to like restrain from that. It seems like when you go down that hole, it's just like, it's a hole that just gets unlimitedly deep. And then hearing Krishna's pastimes becomes difficult. Then you're like, because that whole, oh, I want to see.
No, it's way more entertaining, isn't it, over there? Than more entertaining. That's our condition. You can see that, when these things happen, we understand where our taste is really. It's kind of embarrassing, Like, you think, I've been chanting Hare Krishna, at least personally myself, I've been chanting Hare Krishna for the last, 13 years. And why do I still find YouTube to be more tasteful than Krishna's holy name? It's like, man, it's like, but personally, this is why we should be in the association of devotees, because, see what happens is devotees make us feel guilty, Oh, I shouldn't be looking at that. Oh, he's looking at me. I should be like, if a devotee sees me, I should be like chanting, reading, doing something, devotional service. If I'm watching some YouTube video or something random is happening, the devotee is like, it's like, they cast like side glances. So this is where devotee association is extremely important. And, the moment you understand a devotee is like trying to like form his own space, there's a lot of room for Maya. There's a lot of room for Maya. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have some peace and quiet, but we have to understand that we're not really capable of this peace and quiet. Otherwise, we would have been recommended to go and sit in Radha Kund and chant our rounds. It wouldn't happen. You know, we are not such mahans. You know, so that's one thing. Second thing is, if we somehow do the following things: we chant our rounds, we chant them good, we pay attention when we chant our rounds, and we read at least an hour every day, and we're regulated with our sleep. I've noticed that the mind and intelligence tends to be stronger when dealing with these other aspects, and it's easier to pull back from the distractions. But, you know, when these three things don't happen, you know, properly, then what happens is the mind's weak, and then we kind of get carried away. We get carried away in unnecessary conversations, get carried away with, and there are necessary conversations, but there's so many unnecessary things that are happening, and we just get carried away. And that's where that yukta hara viharasya, yukta chetasya karmasu, yukta swapnava bodhasya, yoga bhavati dukkha. You remove all sources of misery. No, dukkha. Then what happens is we are, of course, this also includes attending the Bhagavatam classes. I'm speaking sadhana in general, right? Morning program, you know, performing our duty and services. And I think sometimes, you know, when you're here, like right now we're here, all the devotees, they've gone on TSKP. And, you know, it's not as exciting as it generally is, you know. And you have to go, you have to perform, you have to sing. But, you know, there's a point of duty that we have to perform this as an aspect of duty, and we have to be enthusiastic. And you have to beat the brain to do that, to beat the mind. Not brain, but mind. You have to beat the mind to want to perform your duty. Because if we somehow can perform this duty without considering ourselves the enjoyer, then, you know, we can stay full-time brahmacharis our whole life. You know, we can be enthusiastic. I just perform our duty, you know, without expecting all these external aspects. And okay, we can work on those external aspects, but they are external ultimately. You know, we have to perform our devotional services enthusiastically. So when we do those things, the mind intelligence, they stay strong. And then when we deal with our service, especially these kind of services, you know, it helps. So it's actually more important for devotees who are engaged. You know, when devotees are in frontline Sankirtan, they have more mercy. You know, you just have a lot more mercy out there when you're distributing books. When you're out there sticking out your neck for Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada, you just have a lot more mercy. You know, and when you're here, you know, there's so much Maya, my God, you know, it's like, so yeah. Isaac?
When you were talking about how to please Krishna, and he is not very easy to please by us, by the conditioned souls, because, you know, we forget our relationship with him. I remember one of the names of Lord Shiva is Ashutosh.
Yeah, Ashutosh, very easily pleased.
How does this quality fits in Lord Krishna?
Well, Krishna also is very easily pleased. I mean, you see, Krishna, he is also merciful. He performs, Lord Shiva does not come incarnation after incarnation and display his pastimes. Lord Krishna comes, and you know, he comes and displays his pastimes to attract the conditioned living entities back home, back to Godhead. And when he descends personally, there's so much kripa siddhi, a lot of mercy. When Krishna is personally present, you will find a lot of people who are inimical and this and that. They are like Putana. She became nurse, spiritual world, a completely, you know, big demon, wanted to kill Krishna. You know, so she gets that mercy. So Krishna is also merciful. He is also pleased. But see, when Lord Shiva is pleased, that Ashutosh, that is referred to him giving material desires, to him fulfilling material desires, That is very easily pleased. And he gives those material desires. And, you know, in the Bhagavatam it's described how, because of that, you know, those who are worshipping Lord Shiva, they are not very intelligent. Because he'll give them what they ask, whether it is good for them or not. But Krishna will not do that. Krishna won't give. He won't give what he thinks you shouldn't have. Especially if you're desiring devotional service, he'll make you forget. He'll make you regret your desires. He'll turn things around. So therefore worshipping Krishna is a little dangerous. So in this way, he's actually merciful. But the devotee is still more easily pleased than Krishna, because Krishna demands surrender. But Acharyas, they teach us how to surrender. The mood of Lord Chaitanya. So Krishna is also easily pleased. Therefore, he sends. See, it's Krishna. Ultimately, it's Krishna's plan, right? Prabhupada come here is Krishna's plan. It's Krishna's plan. So Krishna is merciful. But this Ashutosh of Lord Shiva, it specifically refers to him fulfilling material desires. So Krishna is Ashutosh. He's easily pleased. He's easily pleased when one approaches him through the medium of the spiritual master. Then it's actually very easy to please Krishna. Because spiritual master tells you how to please Krishna, you please Krishna, becomes obliged. So he's actually very easily pleased. But he has a process. Is that okay? All right.
I got another question.
Well, let me ask if the Matajis have. I just want to give them a chance. It's 8:59, so.
So you made the point that if we engage in Sankirtan for most of our lives, Lord Chaitanya will come and get us personally. But what if that's the case, but at the time of death, you're not thinking of Krishna, So what?
Well, if Lord Chaitanya personally comes to take you, you're going to think of him.
Right, but what if you aren't thinking of Krishna? If you engage in Sankirtan all your life, are you screwed up?
If you aren't thinking of Krishna, when?
At the time of death. What if you are not thinking of Krishna, but you were engaged in devotion service and Sankirtan all your life?
Srila Prabhupada gives us the assurance that if you're engaged in Sankirtan your whole life, Krishna will make you think of him by coming as Lord Chaitanya. And Right. So even if you can't think of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya personally comes to take the devotee. And in fact, this is the mood actually ultimately, and this is Ishopanishad verse also is there. Vayur anilam amritam atedam bhasmantam shariram om kratosmara kritam smara om kratosmara kritam smara. Let this body, be reduced to ashes, and let our life air merge with all of the air, existence, air in itself. And then the devotee prays to the Lord in Ishopanishad, please remember everything that I have done for you. Please remember everything that I have done for you. So Lord Chaitanya will remember our Sankirtan. Srila Prabhupada, they become so pleased. See, Srila Prabhupada is saying this, Lord Chaitanya will come and personally take you. Now Lord Chaitanya has become obliged to Srila Prabhupada's desire. Even if that were not the case before Srila Prabhupada, even if for an argument's sake, if one were to say that this was not the case before Srila Prabhupada came, because Srila Prabhupada has said it, and because Srila Prabhupada is very dear to Krishna, Krishna will have to do this now. Just like Arjuna, when his son Abhimanyu was killed, he took a vow, I will kill this Jayadratha by the end of the day, otherwise I'm going to kill myself. Now, it becomes now Krishna becomes anxious. How am I going to fulfill this? I have to fulfill. My devotee has taken this vow, I have to do it. Because Krishna becomes obliged to the devotee. This is the relationship between a pure devotee and Krishna. So this is where we have to catch the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. You have to catch his lotus feet, and we have to perform our duty. We have to perform our service. And it all has to be centered around Sankirtan. Then there is hope. Because you know what? How many ways are there in which our lives can get screwed up? Like if you think about it, and you think about your future, and you think how many ways in which things can go wrong, there's so many ways in which things can go wrong. I'm not even speaking of like outrageous things like, well, oh yeah, a comet's going to come and strike my head. Not even something like as outlandish as that. But just like thinking of our own body or whatever personal things that we have, or what we've been through, what we're going through. It's like, oh my God, there's just so many ways in which life can go wrong. Therefore, if we engage in Sankirtan, and really give ourselves to that. This is one thing we still have some ability to do. And if we utilize that ability, then Lord Chaitanya will remember us. Srila Prabhupada will remember us. And then we have some hope. Okay, Hare Krishna. It's 9:03. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki